our partner.
And Wirestorm is a company that does enterprise software development, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Cool, thanks. So let's go ahead and kick things off. First, let's just give a quick overview on who we are. So introduction to NetApp. We're an enterprise class data services and storage company. We've been doing this for over 25 years. And one of the main things that we do is to help you leverage your data in many different ways. We've had our #1 operating system out in the industry for many years. It's where you can bring enterprise class data management to your hybrid cloud areas. So we deploy and employ enterprise class storage efficiencies. We have a very simple and industry-leading data replication to get your data efficiently and effectively and quickly to the endpoint that you want to use. We're also able to allow you to do seamless data sharing and be able to move at a moment's notice with while the workloads are actively being processed. And I'll show you a little bit later too in the demo area how we can help facilitate your hybrid cloud data management.
Okay, at Wirestorm, we help enterprise companies take either legacy or proof of concept applications into the cloud. So one of our specialties is taking that enterprise old, moving it all up into a cloud environment, and we use NetApp to do a lot of that.
Okay, great. So also, just as a quick overview, one of the main things we're going to be talking about today is OnTAP Cloud. And many of you who are joining us today might already be familiar with OnTAP Cloud, but for those of you who are not familiar, I just want to cover the highlights really quickly, and again, we'll show you a little bit more about this. What OnTAP Cloud is a virtualized version, a software-only version of our OnTAP operating system. It's the same exact operating system that runs on the physical appliances that we've had forever, but instead we've actually ported that so it runs either in AWS or Azure right now. So that helps bring the enterprise class data management to the public cloud. And public cloud actually has a lot of good offerings. EBS and EFS from AWS is very good. We've been doing data management a lot longer than AWS has, and we have a lot more efficiencies and capabilities that we can offer with the OnTAP Cloud system. The other thing that's also really good is if any of you have ever tried to deploy a physical storage appliance, you know that it doesn't take just a few minutes. You have to go through procurement, you have to go through shipping, you have to go through implementation, so power, ping, and pipe, let alone configuration. So at best, you're still looking at possibly a couple of weeks. Well, with OnTAP Cloud, if you want to spin up a new storage system, just go through and use the Cloud Manager wizard and user interface to easily deploy your OnTAP Cloud system, and even better, reclamation. If you no longer need that, you can tear it down quickly and easily as well. Because sometimes whenever I've had to pull out physical equipment, that takes a while. With our Snap Mirror technology, that's how we replicate efficiently and effectively, from on-prem to the cloud, or from the cloud back on-prem, or across clouds. We'll end up doing a baseline once and then incrementals forever after that. And if you're taking advantage of our storage efficiencies, we'll do it in the most effective and efficient manner possible, which is also going to be very cost effective, let alone time effective. And one of the other things that we'll end up talking about, well, I won't talk about, Nick's going to actually talk to you about a little bit, is the use of our storage efficiencies for thin provisioning and flex clones a little bit later. And also, I mentioned Cloud Manager really briefly. I just want to highlight this here because it's really a kind of a combined effort. So when you got OnTAP Cloud, you also have Cloud Manager. Cloud Manager is a very easy, intuitive user interface that makes it simple to deploy new OnTAP Cloud systems. We'll take care of orchestrating all of the cloud resources, about deploying the underlying disk, doing the configuration of the OnTAP operating system. So all you have to do is say where you want the system deployed, how big of a system that you want, and then we'll take care of the rest. And then when we're done, you'll have a fully functioning OnTAP system ready to be a DR destination or ready to serve storage up to your public cloud compute. The other thing to note is that we can discover physical assets. So if you're leveraging NetApp private storage, or if you have your network connectivity back on-prem, we can discover those systems as well. And then trying to replicate into or out of the cloud becomes a simple click and drag wizard. And I'll try to show you that a little bit later too. And Nick, I think I need to turn over to you now.
Okay. So as the DevOps engineer, Abdul, the president of our company, has basically told me these are the 3 most important things I need to keep in mind when I'm developing for customers or clients. The first one is we need to make sure that we have a very tight iterative cycle. So that improves the time to market for both ourselves and our customers in there. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that we are a cloud company only, so we don't have any on-prem equipment for ourselves. Of course, our enterprise clients usually have on-prem company or on-prem infrastructure, but we do not. So I always need to make sure that I'm up to date on transitioning back and forth between those 2 things. And of course, being the cloud service, we always have to make sure that we are not overspending our budget for ourselves or our clients. So those are the 3 big business challenges that I have. So, well, how do we use NetApp? Well, NetApp has a tendency to help all those things. Decrease development time. I'm going to get into that a lot later. Reduce the infrastructure cost. That's due to thin provisioning and FlexClone. Ability to utilize both AWS and Azure cloud services. Again, big deal that we have that huge data portability, because we never know where our clients, either through business need or just because they like, are going to end up on AWS or Azure. And biggest, decreased application and database rollbacks due to data-related defects. I'm going to get into all that fun stuff here. All right, so how exactly does OnTAP help reduce our iteration cycle? I'm going to get into a little bit of that, but first I'm going to show you and tell you a little bit of a war story that we have. We had a client who was doing a major upgrade to their database schema. It was touching multiple things, multiple areas, so it was very important that they test this. Unfortunately, it took about 20 minutes for us to push a new database schema update. So they always wanted live data. So that meant that we'd have to back up the server, pull the data from the remote backup location, and upload it into a new development environment. So all told, that took about 20 minutes. So if you take the DBA, who is in charge of doing the schema changes, that would mean that anytime he made a mistake, like maybe he forgot a semicolon, or he maybe didn't index the right table, that meant that it was 20 minutes again to iterate back up to him for the new fresh data in there. That was a long time to get that change in there. So we're talking this multiple times a day over the course of a month or 2. So it all adds up a significant amount. So how do we do that? Well, we basically utilize FlexClone, and that's what the demo is going to be about and what I'm going to show there. All right, so how do we reduce infrastructure costs with this? Well, with cloud, you really have a tendency to either use an all or nothing approach. You have to calculate how much time and how much data storage you're going to need and move it out. It's kind of traditional in that approach. Within provisioning, I don't really have to worry about that, which is a good relief on me, because a lot of times when I talk to developers, they tell me things like, well, we don't know how much we're going to need now, but it'll be somewhere between 2 to 1 terabyte of data. So that kind of, well, do I take the most pessimistic approach or optimistic approach? With provisioning, I don't have to worry about that. I can just let it be, and NetApp will deal with that, which is a huge relief for me. FlexClones is another big thing that we use. This is our principle that we're using to store and move data back and forth quickly between cloud applications as well as iterative testing. All right. And finally, really easy for us to do that. And that is the fun part. Okay, and finally we have the decreased application and database rollbacks. So going back to all that testing and that war story, you would think with 20 minutes of testing or 20 minutes of scaling up and scaling down development environments and all the testing that happened, there would have been a issue-free application release. Yeah, not really. There is one rollback that we had to do. It cost a lot of money to do that because, again, we had to roll back not just the database, we had to roll back all the application, we had to backport any live data that was coming in. So it turned out to be a very expensive process. So again, if we were to increase the speed of which we were capable of deploying these development environments for the databases, that would have allowed much less risk for the QA people to confirm and go forward. So again, it all comes back to that iteration cycle. Okay, and now we get to the demo.
Okay, great. I'll take control again, and what I'm going to try and do here is just show you real quickly how you can get at OnTAP Cloud and Cloud Manager. Hopefully this will come through real quick. Nick, keep me honest. Can you see my screen?
I absolutely can.
Sweet. All right. So actually, just one of the things I did want to show real quick is a good place for everyone to go for more information is cloud.netapp.com, where you can find out about all of NetApp's cloud offerings, especially OnTAP Cloud and Cloud OnTAP Cloud for AWS and Azure, which we're talking about today. But if you're trying to go and get started yourself, one of the best things to do is first just go to either the AWS Marketplace or the Azure Marketplace. I'll start out with the AWS Marketplace real quick. It's aws.amazon.com/marketplace. You'd search for OnTAP or OnTAP Cloud. And there you'll see a few different offerings. The reason I like pointing this out is because it's fairly easy to get to the marketplace and fairly easy to launch these things. The one thing that's a little bit different is because we have Cloud Manager to help you manage your deployment and instantiation, reclamation of all of the different resources. It makes it very easy. You don't typically launch OnTAP Cloud by itself like you would with any other Amazon machine image. What you do here, you come in, look at the OnTAP Cloud for AWS and just click on Continue to subscribe. And that's it. You just need to say that yes, you want to launch that machine image. What you would do, though, is you'd look at Cloud Manager for OnTAP Cloud, and this is what you can go ahead and launch in your account. So you can either just launch the single machine image, so single AMI, so that's just deploying it like any other machine image in AWS, or you could take advantage of one of these other delivery methods. These actually use CloudFormation templates to automate the deployment and configuration of Cloud Manager for you. And if the NFS volumes, it'll create an initial NFS volume for you if you want, or it'll deploy a multiple OnTAP Cloud system. So that's a real quick and easy way to go ahead and deploy Cloud Manager in your account, and then you can use Cloud Manager to deploy additional OnTAP Cloud systems if you want. The way it looks in Azure, I'll go over here real quick. So this is the Azure Marketplace. Again, very similar. Get over to the Azure Marketplace. I typically Google search it myself because I can never remember the URL. But once I'm here, I'll just go do a search for OnTAP Cloud. And you'll see a few different offerings. I'm not sure why 40 Cloud Firewall Network is up there, but you see that we have the two offerings here for NetApp OnTAP Cloud for Azure and then OnCommand Cloud Manager. Same kind of things. We'll come here and subscribe for OnTAP Cloud. And then you'll go to Cloud Manager, and then you'll go through and launch Cloud Manager in your account. And don't worry if you're wanting more instructions about how to do this for AWS and how to do it for Azure. We have lots of other documentation that's available, and we have a few instructional videos that can take you through that too. Now, I'm just going to access the Cloud Manager system that I have up already, just really quickly. Let me go into that. If I remember how, so admin, and my password on this system is that. Okay, good. And actually, 3.3 is not available yet. I'm actually using an engineering build. 3.3 is going to be out very soon, but we won't go and do that one right now. So here I can see I've got a few different working environments. I'm having a network refresh with my on-prem system for some reason. We can look at that in a second. But here I see I've got two different high availability versions deployed in AWS. I also do have a linkage to my on-prem system. Sometimes there can be some latency, but this is where I've got a VPN connection back to my on-prem network, and I can see that I have now it actually popped up. I do have a little red highlight, so Cloud Manager is letting me know that there's something to look at. So there's a notice. If I look at this real quickly, I have an action required, and I see that my synchronization to S3 has failed. This is actually something different. Within Cloud Manager, we also now have the ability to take advantage of the Cloud Sync service, which can synchronize my NFS data up to AWS S3. And why did that fail? Because my trial expired a day ago. Whoops. Okay, I need to go subscribe to my own service in order to make sure that this isn't done, but it doesn't expire. But this is a very quick and easy way to sync your file systems, your NFS file systems, up to S3 or back from S3 to NFS. But what we're really trying to show you today is how to easily deploy a new environment or new working environment, a new OnTAP Cloud system. All I have to do is click on the Add a New Working Environment wizard. I can then go select which type of OnTAP Cloud system I'd like to deploy. The only thing I need to do is making sure that if I'm in AWS, is that I'm set up with my AWS profile, so I'm authorized to deploy resources in AWS. And with the same OnTAP Cloud, the same Cloud Manager system, I can also deploy resources in Azure, so long as I have the network connection to my Azure subscription, and I've put in the permissions to deploy resources in Azure. So I can click on one of these, follow the wizard, select the size, select the location, and it will take just a few short minutes to deploy that OnTAP Cloud system. I can also, like I mentioned before, discover other systems. So if I've used a different Cloud Manager system to deploy OnTAP Cloud systems in Azure, I can just go ahead and discover those and have them accessible within one OnTAP Cloud system, or discover physical assets. And that's just a quick highlight of how easy it is to get started with Cloud Manager on OnTAP Cloud. And let's see if I can do this. What we need to do is come over here. And Nick, let me know if you can take control.
Okay. So this is a demonstration of using those principles involved. I'm going to kind of jump around the video a little bit. This video is available on our website somewhere. But I want to highlight things really quick. So you can see that right now we're dealing with a 280 gigabyte actual data and 90 gigabytes of LUN. So again, this would take a little bit while to refresh back and forth. That 20 minutes all starts adding up. So if we go to 255, the video here, which
you need me to do that?
Yeah, if you please.
Okay, I will.
It's kind of giving you spoiler alerts, though. Oh well. All right. So we see here that we have this nice mount that we have going, and if you go ahead and click play, I'll walk you through it. So we are starting off with one WinDocker image here on a local thing. And what we're going to do here is we're going to actually spawn up 5 development environments. So what this would allow a developer QA person to do is they know that they have all these different environments they can test, different optimizations for, different methodologies. Maybe they want to try indexing just one one column the backend stuff we had to do. So imagine what could happen when you have a developer who again messes up. Maybe he indexes the wrong table and he needs to try again from a fresh environment. Rather than taking that 20 minutes to deploy and for us to manually do it, all of a sudden he's got this fresh environment in 45 seconds. Again, full-fledged, he can do whatever he wants to it. It's completely and utterly disposable because there's no time investment. It's 45 seconds. So what happens if you want to have more of a collaboration, but that you don't want your developers tripping over each other? So again, go ahead and play it for me. We continue on. That was just one environment. And does it, and all of a sudden you see that in 13 minutes we have 5 separate environments for each individual developer to play around with, to look at and compare. Go ahead and pause it for me. So if you want to jump forward about 10 seconds to 4:15. There we go. And you can see that all of a sudden we have all these beautiful environments bouncing back and forth that are just ready and ripe for the developers to play around with. And all this is done on one machine, so there's not a huge amount of investure on our part. We don't have to do multiple compute nodes. Oh, looks like the screen shut down.
It didn't. It went blank.
Yeah, for me it did.
All right. Well, let's see what happened there. Not sure why that did that. Technical difficulties.
Well,
here we go.
All right, awesome. Okay. So that means that all these developers now have, in less than 15 minutes, they can all go in there and modify their own version of the database, collaborate, and say, yeah, you know what, on this SQL query, I was able to get it down by half a second. So we know that this is a really good one. We'll keep that one for later. Oh, this one took way too long. We don't care about it. So if we had the capability of taking all those reiteration cycles and moving it down from 20 minutes down to 45 seconds, that would have increased the QA ability to really test these out, because it allows that iteration cycle to go much, much faster in there. Again, that goes with my cost savings directive and my iteration cycle directive. So just with this one solution and using NetApp, I was able to take care of 2 birds with 1 stone. And of course, because of FlexClone, these guys are all really small, even though they're being reported as huge. So if we go back to a 0.22, this is exactly what you saw him set up here earlier. The only difference is that this is our cloud. So the really cool thing about all this is that I don't have to retool anything if I want a failover solution from AWS over to Azure. Maybe that could be a little bit more relevant, considering that we had a little bit of an AWS outage a couple of weeks ago. So this could have been easily utilized to fail over it. Again, there's no change in the tooling. Everything else is the same. The only difference is that if we're spawning up on Azure, we're using an Azure. So by utilizing all that and reusing that, that saved me a lot of headache. And if someone comes to me and says, we need this high availability stuff, I can say, no problem. We already have it right here. And we actually tested this failing back and forth between these two Azure environments here. So therein is the demo that we have done and how we utilize NetApp in application to really increase our iteration cycles, have a high ability at the same time, save cost and money savings. And Mister, are you ready to go?
let's do it. So here we go. I think this is still you. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can. This is a little bit of how we have things set up. We have our test and dev environment over here, a little bit of all these clones that we can play around with and move quickly for. So again, trying to get that iteration down all the time is what our goal is. We have this nice flex clone that, again, you can see on the right over here. After 1 minute, you can see the storage and a little bit how it works. Excuse me. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, just a quick question. You and I talked about this earlier. Did you believe flex clones were really going to work when you first heard about them?
Yeah. So the first time someone told me about FlexClone, I was I poo-pooed it, and I was like, yeah, right, let me know when that's out of vaporware. And they told me, no, really, you can do that right now. And as soon as I saw that, wow, you can actually do this, I immediately started cracking into how it actually worked. It's really cool technology. It saves me a lot of time and effort in there. One of the added benefits, too, is that when we're talking to our developers, they don't have to use both Azure and AWS APIs. They can just have one unified front for our storage, which is, of course, NetApp. That is a huge add-in for us as well. It allows us to on-ramp developers much, much easier.
Cool. So right now, we're going to start to wrap up. One of the things I just want to let you know is that again, one of the best places to go for information for NetApp, for any of our cloud offerings, especially OnTAP Cloud, please go to cloud.netapp.com. One of the things I forgot to mention in the demo is there's a little, if I can get my mouse, if you guys can see it, but in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little chat icon. That's going to be in cloud.netapp.com. That's also going to be in Cloud Manager. And that's our integrated chat service. So if you do have a question, this is a good way for you to just click on that, send a chat. If we're online, we'll respond. If we're not online, you can leave us a message and we'll get right back to you. Another great place to go for information for Wirestorm, this is go to wirestorm.us. Great information about what they do. They do so much. Nick could probably go into that better than I can, but there's all sorts of integration pieces and services that they can help you out with. I do like to call out wirestorm.us because I'll tell you, when I went out and looked for for Wirestorm, I went to wirestorm.com, and that was actually a different site. So yeah, wirestorm.us for finding out more about what Wirestorm can do for you. One other thing to let you guys know, as far as thanking you for coming to our webinar today, we have a fast track package that we have with AWS. We're working on something similar with Azure, but it's not available yet. But if you want to take advantage of OnTAP Cloud and Cloud Manager very quickly, just please take advantage of this fast track. This is where you'll get $100 credit to go towards your AWS resources. If it's your first time in with OnTAP Cloud, then you can take advantage of the 30-day free trial that we have for OnTAP Cloud. That's where no NetApp software charges apply. You see the short bit link, so bit.ly, and it's our today's date, March 23rd, underscore, because you can't really see that very well, co-webby. So that's the co-webinar that we're doing NetApp and between NetApp and Wirestorm. So yeah, please take advantage of that if you would. And now, some time for some Q&A. And I think a few questions came in. So let's see if some questions came in. And let's see, I don't, let's see, looking forward to the amazingness. Well, hopefully the amazingness was delivered. And let's see, hi, inside a VPC. I'm not sure what the question was about inside a VPC. So what I will tell you for OnTAP Cloud can be deployed in a couple of different ways. It will have to be inside of VPC. So a VPC is a virtual private cloud in AWS. And we have two different flavors inside AWS. So it's a single node, so that has deployed inside a virtual private cloud and within a subnet within that virtual private cloud. There's also two OnTAP Cloud HA versions available, one which is multi-availability zone, and one which is a single availability zone, based upon customers' requests. So multi-AZ means different subnets in different availability zones within that region. So crossing the different availability zones. And single if you run a dev test CRP out of the clone, it will impact the prod volume if we do not split it from the prod volume. So the answer I have for you is that QoS is handled the same way as you do with any OnTAP system. You are correct. If you end up doing a couple of different things on the clones, well, actually, the clones are still its own self-contained container. So as it was mentioned before, it's a writable snapshot. It's not going to have any impact on the original blocks. Production processing can still go on. That said, a lot of times what happens is people don't run production and test dev, stage, QA on the same systems. More than likely what's happened is that's going to be a snap mirror from the production system to the non-production system, and then that snap mirror destination repository could then be flex cloned and used in different ways. So it really depends upon your utilization. You could go ahead and have prod and dev test and everything else running on the same system. It's just not something that people normally do. Let's see if there's anything else. Can we use this 30-day trial of OnTAP Cloud with OnTAP Simulator? So that's so the short answer is no. OnTAP Simulator is, I will tell you that OnTAP Cloud is kind of made on the basis of the OnTAP Simulator, but the OnTAP Simulator is nothing that can scale to the size of what OnTAP Cloud can offer. It's usually something that's only something you run on your laptop to simulate the OnTAP operating system and be able to go ahead and maybe do some dev with the APIs. But it's nothing of size that you'll get. You know, at best, you might be able to throw a gig or two at it, depending upon what your hard disk limit can provide, but it's not really the same kind of thing. And let's see if there's another one for Nick. And the answer is, it doesn't look like it. Look, Nick, you might be getting off a little bit free here. But are there plans to have volume encryption that are now on ONTAP 9.1 and in OnTAP Cloud? So the answer is there are intentions, yes. We're going through qualification for that, so it's not available for OnTAP Cloud yet. But what we do have for OnTAP Cloud is the ability to take advantage of either AWS's encryption for the underlying EBS disks. That's either with the default key that is there, or if you decide to create your own external key, still using AWS's key management, but your own key, we can facilitate that too via Cloud Manager. And another option is to be able to have your own key management system, KMIP, for the data aggregate, and that would be for encryption at rest. Right now, we don't have the volume level encryption that's available for OnTAP Cloud yet, but it will be coming in a future release. And with that, I know there's a few other questions that we'll go ahead and respond to. And if you have any more, please send them in to us, but we'll make sure that we respond to those all. And what you'll receive those with the video recording once we have it published. So we'll get that up and available to you as quickly as possible. That's going to be something that you can go through and review. You'll see the responses to the questions. And then you'll also be able to share the link with your colleagues. With that, that's basically a wrap. And thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to attend this webinar. And that's it from me. Nick, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Thank you so much for listening and watching what we're up to.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.